Hi, I'm Patrick Markfort from Articulate Nerd.
And I'm Dave Ferraro from Comics and More. And this is our second week of the all-new DC 52 podcast. This week we are going to be reviewing 6 comic books. Batwoman, Demon Knights, Frankenstein Agent of Shade, Green Lantern, Red Lanterns, and Resurrection Man. And we're beginning with Batwoman. Batwoman is from J.H. Williams III, who does the art and co-writes with W. Haden Blackman. For those of you who read the previous Batwoman series, I think it was fantastic. It was written by Greg Rucka, with J.H. Williams III doing the incredible artwork in it. I think a lot of people praise the artwork more than the story in that series. And with this one, we are kind of reintroduced to the Batwoman character. It does feel like very much like a first issue, but it does have it refers a lot to the old series, especially with one big splash page with all kinds of little characters and stuff from the old series and stuff.
Right.
I think you'd get more out of it having read the previous series. Because it references a lot about Batwoman's sister and stuff like that, and her relationship with her father.
But I would interject. You've read the previous series.
Read it.
I haven't, and I felt like I was able to pick it up. I thought they did a really good job of bringing you up to speed with that little flashback, and
Good.
I didn't feel I was missing anything.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the relationship with Batwoman and her father previously, and I feel like he just barely got introduced and kind of swept to the side a little bit. So just stuff like that, I'm kind of, be nice for the readers to really see that relationship, and you don't really get to see it in here. But I'm glad that they introduced it well in the series for somebody who's just coming on board.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically, with this book, there is a ghostly presence that's kind of drowning children and kidnapping children. So there's a lot of disappearances in Gotham right now, and Batwoman is investigating that, trying to figure out what's going on. It begins with a scene where she kind of sweeps into the room where there's this kind of eerie thing going on, kind of an underwater dream-like kind of scenario with these ghosts. And J.H. Williams' artwork, I think is great, just like it was previously. But I feel like just the panel arrangements are a little less sharp than they were previously.
The what?
Just the panel arrangements and stuff. There used to be elaborate sequences with the bat symbol and stuff like that in the old book, and I feel like he tried it in this one too, and I think he succeeded for the most part. But I feel like they were just a little more, I don't know, sharper previously. But maybe it's just because I've kind of gotten used to it before going into the series. What did you think about the panels?
Well, I did like the art a lot. Yeah.
Did you like the contrast between the scenes when she's Batwoman and when she's okay?
J.H. Williams, his artwork is definitely the star of this book.
Oh yeah.
And that's been the case with the previous Batwoman comic books that have been coming out, and it continues to be the case now that he's taking over writing the book as well. So yeah, I thought the panel arrangements were creative. He's done that on other series that I've read too. Prometheus being a really big example. Obviously, he's sort of known for that. Changing his art style within the context of the comic book for various storytelling purposes. So he's a really terrific cartoonist. I mean, that's indisputable. So I enjoyed that aspect of the book a lot. Maybe if he had been doing more elaborate, more experimental things in previous Batwoman comics, maybe he purposefully dialed it back a little bit. In the interest of clarity, thinking about new readers who maybe weren't as familiar with comics, or so they wouldn't feel so overwhelmed. Because he seems like an artist really in complete command of his craft, complete control, and who is obviously willing and eager to put a lot of work and effort into his books. So I think if he took a more simplified approach, maybe that was probably deliberate on his part. But I thought it looked beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Story-wise, I did feel like it fell a little short of the quality of the original Batwoman series too. like in the original Batwoman elegy series, I really loved the character of Batwoman and her relationships with the characters. And this one, I didn't really like. It didn't grab me like you know what I mean. Like it kind of left me a little. Like I just wanted more, I guess, a little bit.
Yeah.
Like it was just a little lacking in the character development. I feel like in this, Greg Rucka, like as we know, is great with female, characters, and I feel like maybe J.H. Williams kind of took what he'd used previously, like Greg Rucka when he built this character, but it he kind of ran with it, but it just didn't really connect as well as it did when Greg Rucka was writing behind the character.
Yeah, I obviously I hadn't read the previous comic books, but I kind of had the same reaction. I really loved the artwork. Again, that's not going to come as a surprise to anybody who's familiar with the artist. But yeah, and the story was fine.
It was fine.
But yeah, it didn't really kind of grab me, kind of suck me in. Make a really strong mission statement in the way that some of the best books that we reviewed on last week's show did. So yeah, at the end of the day, it was a real solid effort with beautiful artwork, but it left me oddly a little cold, and I almost feel bad saying that because I admire the work that was put into it so much. It's such a beautiful looking book, and I like that. The Batwoman book has sort of become a showcase for an artist because I don't think DC always puts the art in the foreground. A lot of times they've got a lot of great artists working for them, and we'll see some of them in some of the other books we're reviewing this week.
Sure.
But I sometimes I feel like DC kind of feels like anybody could be drawing the books. They've done a lot of fill-ins in the past, and the matching of artists and writers has not in the past always seemed to be done very thoughtfully.
Yeah.
So I like that Batwoman. If it's only a showcase for J.H. Williams, I mean that seems like a good reason for a book to exist.
Yeah, definitely worth picking up every week just for the art.
But having said that, that is kind of the best thing I can say about it, and it is really kind of the only noteworthy thing to say about it. I also have to say, I mean, does anybody else think it's weird that last week we reviewed another #1 issue, Batgirl. This week we're reviewing Batwoman. They're both comics about these women, Bat characters, in black costumes with red hair. Doesn't that seem like couldn't the editorial have been let's make Barbara Gordon a blonde? Or something? It's not really a criticism of this book.
Yeah.
Isn't that seem odd to you?
I guess but I mean, it really works with her costume.
Oh yeah, beautifully designed costume, beautiful art. And Batwoman was going first before they introduced the new version of Batgirl. So it's not a criticism of this book at all.
Yeah.
It's almost more a retroactive, further criticism of Batgirl, which I didn't love from last week, in that. It's just another thing that makes that book not really have a distinct identity. It just seems weird. Like if you were the Batman editor, the editor overseeing these various Batman books, there's a handful of them. You'd think you'd want to give them each a real distinct identity. And, once you read the books, you realize Batwoman and Batgirl are very different characters.
Sure.
And if you know comics and know those characters, they're very different characters. But for this new 52 initiative to give two #1s, one is Batgirl, one is Batwoman, to have those characters even look so similar, I just thought that was a weird oversight. It seemed odd.
I didn't mind. I mean, their costumes look so different, and
they do.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems weird to me. If I had to explain to someone who didn't read comics the difference between Batgirl and Batwoman, I feel like it would come off sounding ridiculous.
Okay.
Just an observation.
Yeah. I think of all the books I've read for the 52, I feel like Batwoman is the most that just pretty much picks up on old continuity.
Yeah.
It does not, it doesn't really take advantage of it being, a whole new DC universe, you know what I mean? And that's cool.
Yeah, I think that's okay. I mean, I like the idea behind the new 52 and it's fun to see a lot of the more radical reinventions. But yeah, at the same time, if something's working, which Batwoman obviously was, don't change it just for the sake of changing it.
Yeah, and this was a title that has been delayed a couple times already. And obviously this last time they were waiting for it to come out with the new 52. And I don't think they really saw a need to change it when it was coming out, so that's fine.
So a good book, but maybe...
great art, but...
would like to see a bit more of an interesting story.
Yeah.
Which it might turn into.
Has the potential.
Definitely.